Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sonoma County CareerFest, to our financial knowledge workshop. My name is Elizabeth Campos, and I am a counselor at Roseland Collegiate Prep. And we are very excited to have our presenter today, Matt Kanzler from Redwood Credit Union. He is a financial wellness specialist. Just some logistical reminders before I hand it over to our presenter. We will be recording all of our sessions, and they will be posted on the CTE Foundation website. And I will be posting that link towards the end of our presentation. And we do want this to be as interactive as possible, even though we are on Zoom. So please use the chat and Q&A function to ask any questions throughout the presentation. All right, I'll hand it over to our presenter now.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So as you all know now, I'm Matt Kanzler. I'm at the Redwood Credit Union. Been here about 7 years and have about 4+ years at different financial institutions. So I have over 11 years of kind of learning and teaching. I've done all of it from really up front in the branches and, as almost like a teller, all the way up to I was a mortgage loan officer for a few years. So I used to give out mortgage loans. And maybe have given some to your parents. And then also now I teach financial literacy, which is actually what I've been doing for the last 11 years. I mean, we teach financial literacy to every single one of our members, customers, things that when they come in. But this is kind of my dream job, is to be able to teach you guys about different things. And some of the things that we're going to discuss today are building a budget and some of the do's and don'ts and stuff like that, and kind of what is involved with credit. So first off, building a budget. I'm going to share my screen. Feel free to ask any questions in the question box, and Elizabeth will be able to kind of go over all the different things with that. So she'll be able to kind of stop me and say, hey, Matt, someone's got a question. But I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully you all can see that. So you're just seeing this building a better budget, correct?
Correct.
Awesome. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard some really icky stuff about budgeting. A lot of the people liken it to a diet or things like that. Yes, there is that gross connotation of, okay, it's a budget. I don't like it. However, it's really not. It doesn't have to be. It's basically making sure that your money is going to the right places and making sure it's not going to the wrong places. So for example, think of it as kind of a roadmap. You want to go to Kansas City because you want to see the Royals play. You want to get that Kansas City barbecue you've been hearing about. I'm a baseball fan, so that's going to be my analogy. It can be anything you want. You can go to anywhere you want, but you're not just going to put the sun in your face in the morning and the sun in your back in the evening and hope you get to Kansas City. You're going to build a roadmap. You're going to build a kind of a model of, okay, here's where I'm going to go. Here's what routes I'm going to take. Here's where I'm going to stay the night. Here's where I'm going to eat. Here's how much I'm going to spend on these things. Because if you just do the route of like, I'm just going to wing it and go out there and not have any plans. Well, yeah, you might get to Kansas City, but it might take you a lot longer. You might take a more expensive route, and you might not enjoy yourself as much on the way. Whereas when you have that roadmap, you're able to build in those fun stops, and you're able to kind of spend your money and get there. And then when you get there, you actually have some money left over that you can actually enjoy that baseball game. You can enjoy that Kansas City barbecue. So we're going to talk about what money management is, and really money management is little more than just knowing what you have coming in as compared to what you have going out. That's simply the budget. So you have your income coming in, and that's all the money you're making off of your jobs. Maybe you have a second job. Maybe you have, something you do on the side that earns you some money. That's all the money you have coming in. Then you have your expenses, the money you have going out. Now it's important to write down every single thing. Make sure your budgets are what we call comprehensive. Don't leave things out, because if you leave things out, you might leave out, oh, oops, I forgot that I was supposed to stop at this place, and now you're off course. So same thing with your budget. Make sure that you're knowing exactly what is coming in, writing it all down, using an app, whatever you want to use to get there. So this is kind of what a budget would, an example of what a budget would look like. Now, in this case, you have the person has, looks like either 2 jobs, or maybe it's a couple, 2 people. Now, this little net option right here, the little net item right here, you want to make sure that when you're putting in your budget, you're putting in the income, you're going to earn a certain amount per month from your job, but taxes are going to be taken out of that. And maybe your retirement, things like that are going to be taken out of that. So it's important to put only the money that's actually coming into your account, which is what we call net. The gross amount is how much you're making total before any we call deductions or any taxes or anything is taken out. Because if you put the gross amount in there, well, that's not the amount you're actually earning. So that's not the amount you can actually spend. So it's really important to put the net amount in for your jobs and on all income. And this looks like these people have a rental income of $750 a month for a grand total of $7,863. So that's all the money they have coming in. Then they list all of their expenses, mortgage, car payment, how much they're spending on food every month, et cetera, down the line. And then they're left with however much they have in all their expenses. Now, when you take your monthly income, subtract out your monthly expenses, that's your budget. Now, there's a shortfall, a balanced budget, and a surplus, and we're going to discuss what those are next. The first up is the shortfall. So this is where your expenses are greater than your income. So, I've got way too much expenses. I don't have enough income. I'm now in debt. I'm now losing money every month. That's not a good place to be in. So how do we get ourselves out of it? Well, not really option, but one of the ways that you can get yourself out of it is evaluate your income. Maybe you go to your boss. Hey, I've been taking on some more responsibilities. I've been doing this, or maybe, hey, can I take on some more responsibilities? How can I make a little more money? Can you promote me? Can you give me a raise? Maybe that works. Maybe that doesn't. But you also want to make sure you're getting paid for what you're doing. So always good to request a raise. You can also get an additional job. A few things to think about when you're getting an additional job is your schedule. Does the schedule even work? Does that job make you come in at 2:00 when the other job has you there till 3? Well, then you can't do that, or you can't get that job. Also, make sure you have a good work-life balance. You want to make sure you're not just working all day, every day, and then never having a day off to actually enjoy yourself. Another thing that you can do is, like a buddy of mine does, he's a barbecue master. He loves cooking, he loves barbecuing. And what he did was, he works as a nurse. He basically brings a menu to his work every day. And all of his coworkers take a look at it and go, oh, I want this tomorrow for lunch. And then he brings them lunch and they pay him. So it's a fun thing he likes to do on the side. So it's giving him a nice work-life balance because he's getting to do that for fun. Does it anyway. And then it also gives him some extra cash on the side, and he uses that for vacations. So again, that's another option you can do. And then if you have available space in your house, or if you have, a friend that you don't mind living with, you can get a roommate. Just make sure that, again, you have enough space. It's a person that you know is going to pay you back, not going to mess up your house, things like that. So things to think about. The other option you can do, or you can do them both, is evaluate your expenses. So what are some of the areas you can cut back? Now, a couple of things to think about when you're cutting back areas. Make sure it's reasonable. If you go, oh, I can cut back on gas. Well, sometimes you can't. You have to drive a certain amount of miles or whatnot for work and for school and things like that. Another thing that you can do is invite a friend. So have your friend analyze your budget. Hey, you know what? You may think that you can't live without a certain thing, but your friend goes, hey, no, you can definitely live without that, or you can definitely cut that back. And also they'll hold you accountable. So when you are going to a store and you're going, oh, I want this new thing, they're going, hey, wait. Remember we analyzed your budget. You got to stick to it. Let's do this. So congrats. You evaluated your income. You evaluated your expenses. You now have a balanced budget. Your expenses are equal to your income. Some of the great things about this, you're no longer in debt. You have found an equilibrium. You're not going to be worried about, oh, I can't make this month's rent, or I can't pay this month's credit card bill, or whatever. Bad news is, any emergencies, any unplanned expenses, you don't have any savings for it because you're equal, you're balanced. And you're not saving for what things you want to do in the future. So congrats, you made it to Kansas City, but you don't have any money, so you can't go to that game. You can't eat the barbecue. You just got to drive right back. Well, that's not fun. So again, when you hit that balanced budget, great. You're no longer in debt, but evaluate your income again, evaluate your expenses, and now make your way to a budget surplus, where your expenses are less than your income. So you got more money going in than you have going out. Awesome. This is the promised land. Congrats. You've now made it to your Kansas City trip. You've now enjoyed your barbecue. You now enjoyed that baseball game, and your life is happy. So you also have savings to cover all of your expenses. One rule that they say is you take all of those expenses that you have over that month and you go, all right, I'm going to multiply that by 6, and I want to have that in my savings. It's a good rule to make sure you have 6 times your monthly expenses. So that way, if you lose your job, if you go on disability, like you get hurt or something and you can't work, you have the money in your savings to cover that. Or if unexpected things happen, then you have the money to save for that. Personal experience, I had a situation where I was driving down to Arizona for spring training a few years back. I got a flat tire. I had to pay for a whole new set of tires. So wasn't expecting that, but but luckily I had the savings to cover it, and I was able to do that while still having fun in spring training. Made it on time. So again, having that 6-month savings is really important. You also have the ability to plan for what you want in the future and enjoy the now. So again, it's not a game, it's your life. So the cons, none. You've made it. But remember, make sure you have a life that's worthwhile, and you're not just completely destroying all fun in your budget just so you can have a surplus. Make sure that you're really building in those fun experiences. And if you don't have enough money to do that, then maybe look into different ways you can make more money so you do have those fun windfalls. It's not a game. You're not trying to just beat the game. You're trying to have fun while you do it. So a couple of these budget buster items, these are things that we call budget busters because they are things that will eat away at your budget without you even realizing it. So I'm not a big coffee person, but everyone else is. And Starbucks is, the big giant one that everyone loves to go to. Average a couple of years ago was about $5 a drink or $4.95 a drink. I know it's probably changed since then, but pandemic has kind of changed everything. So we'll keep it at $4.95 a drink. Now, if you have a daily Starbucks, then each week you're going to spend $34.65, almost $35 each week. That is a dinner with friends. Over a 28-day month, almost $140. That is a trip to the grocery store. Over a year, it's a down payment on a car, $1,800, or a wonderful trip to Europe where you're going all sorts of places. So when you're looking at some of these budget buster items, think of other things that are budget busters for you. I know for me, for the longest time, it was going to music stores and buying CDs. I love buying CDs. I can't go into a music store without spending $50. Just can't do it. So I kind of have to stop doing those things because it was costing me too much money. And now I have Spotify, which is a lot cheaper. So again, there are ways, think of what things that you spend monthly on or daily on that maybe aren't necessary. A bag of potato chips or, candy bars, things like that, Now, there's a bunch of different ways that people are going to talk about how to budget and what plans are best for you and what you want to do and this and that. Really, you want to make sure it's doing the right one for you. So 2 of the main kind of ways that we do it are spending plan budget versus backwards budget. So spending plan budget is basically you go in and say, all right, I want to spend so much money on these things. So I want to spend no more than 20% on my food. I want to spend no more than 30% on my transportation. I want to spend no more than 40% on my home or my rent. And I want to spend no more than that. We have 10% left for fun stuff, for entertainment. Sometimes those are great. Other times they you think you can do it with these percentages, but then it doesn't work. So really kind of there's the backwards budget, which is the one that we saw before. where you are basically taking that last month or last 6 months. Sometimes you do it last 6 months or last year is good because you have annual subscriptions to things. I know I have an annual subscription to Major League Baseball to be able to see all the different games. So that's an annual subscription. If I only did last month's budget, then it wouldn't have that in there. So it's good to look at things that are not just monthly, and then take that plan and look at, okay, are there areas I can cut back? Excuse me. Are there areas I can cut back? Are there areas I can get more money here and there from? Or is there areas I can add income to it? Sometimes a little bit of both is good, because let's say you do the backwards budget. Sometimes it's going to make you realize that, well, if the national average is only 20% on food, I'm spending 50% on food. I got to cut back that food. So sometimes a mix of both is good. Again, there's tons of apps out there. There's tons of different ways. Just like when you're planning your trip to Kansas City, we used to use big giant maps, Thomas guides, all that fun stuff. Well, they built apps for that. They built apps to make it so that way it's way easier for us to do it. So same thing with budgets. And no app is best for everyone. Look at all the ones that are available out there. Go on your app store and just look at budget apps and see and play around with it. If you like it and it works, great. If it looks wonky or it doesn't work for you, ditch it and find a different one. I've got 3 different friends who use 3 different apps and they all swear by it. So that's why I swear by their app. So really just kind of, using what works best for you. It's best to write it all down, best to write it all down. It's best to put it in an app, best to put it in an app, whatever works for you. And remember, this is not just a destination. This is this is basically, you got to drive the drive. You got to get there. So creating a budget, that's a great start, but you don't just map out your plan and your trip to Kansas City and go, all right, sweet. Where's my Royals playing? No, you got to get there. You got to keep on track with that budget. So congrats, we created your budget. We started our journey, but now you got to stick to it. You got to follow the budget you set. And again, sometimes it's best to keep a friend in on your budget and say, hey, can you help me keep accountable to my budget? Make sure that I'm keeping track and I'm not spending on things I don't want to. Make adjustments. Constantly make adjustments to fit your reality. If you find something's not working because you thought you could live without X, Y, or Z, you thought you could live without coffee. You're like, you know what? I'm spending way too much on coffee. I'm just going to cut it out. Or I'm only going to go to Starbucks once a week. And you realize that's not possible. You're tired all the time and you kind of need that coffee. Well, then make an adjustment and go, you know what? Maybe there's other ways other things I can cut out. Or again, maybe there's more income I can make so I can actually have my coffee. Revisit, update it periodically. So things change. Your income's going to change from time to time. Your expenses will change from time to time. Both will change. So make sure that you're not just creating this budget and going, all right, I've created my budget. Woohoo. That same trip to Kansas City. Well, you were planning on the gas prices to be like they were here. Maybe other places, the gas prices are different. You didn't plan that in your budget. And now you're realizing, I got a little more money. Maybe I can go visit this place or that place. Or, it's a little more expensive out here. Maybe I need to cut back on these things. So same thing happens when you're looking at your budget. Sometimes your income gets higher. Sometimes your expenses get higher. And it's good to make those budgets adaptable. And lastly, include the fun. Get your cheat days on. Just like they say when you're getting your exercise in, those exercise plans, get your cheat days on. Don't just get to Kansas City. Have fun along the way. Visit the Grand Canyon. Visit the areas that you want to visit. Go to those things on those side routes that you may have thought, I don't have enough money for. But plan those in your budget. Make it a fun. Make your life fun. And then a couple things to keep in mind. So your budget is not just the destination. It is the roadmap of how you're going to get there. So you want to make sure that you know what your destination is and why. Why does it matter to you? Because if you're just saying, I want to go to Kansas City because I heard it was kind of fun, well, then you might not get there because you might stop along the way, or you might do other things instead. Whereas if you are like, hey, no, I definitely want to go to Kansas City because I want to see those Royals play. I want to eat that Kansas City barbecue. Well, then you're going to stick to that budget. You're going to stick to that track to get there. And same thing for a budget. If you know that you need to get, your budget is for buying a house, or your budget is for playing, learning how to play guitar, there you go. That's your destination. And you're going to make sure you get there. Know your income, know where money is coming in. So when you've got windfalls, you got that tax refund. Ooh, sweet. I got $1,000 more on my taxes. Awesome. Well, that can help you have more fun in your life. That can help you do things that you want to do. So make sure you're incorporating those in your budget often, especially when they happen. Be realistic about your budget. Don't set lofty goals that you can't achieve. It's going to make you disappointed when you don't achieve them. So make sure that you're setting your budget realistically. And then building in those wins, building in those little tiny ensure success wins. So for example, you just listen to me talk to you for 20 minutes. Congrats. Check off number one. Number two, let's make your budget. Sit down, write it down, download an app, check out a couple, make your goal, check out 3 apps this week about budgeting. Set those little tiny goals that are achievable so you can give yourself those stars, you can give yourself those wins. And that way you're not just getting discouraged, and it's not just like this lofty ending thing. Set those daily, weekly, monthly goals that you can hit and go, awesome, I kept my budget for a month. Woohoo. Let's, build in a success for you, build in that little cheat day for you. So again, those are kind of things to keep in mind. And with that, went over a lot of things on the budget. You guys listened to me talk for 20 minutes. So what questions do you have for me?
Okay, it doesn't look like we have any questions as of now. Here's one. Okay, do you have any suggestions about getting out of credit card debt?
Credit card debt, and we'll discuss a little bit in the next slides as well. There's a bunch of different methods. There's Cascade. There's all sorts of different methods that we call them. Mainly, what I suggest is you look at whatever credit card is charging you the most interest, and you pay that off first. Then you kind of pay them down like that. You always want to be paying at least double the minimum payment they make you pay. So when you're calculating your budget, try and really budget in, paying down the credit card a bunch, but don't put yourself in a situation where you're barely at a balanced budget to pay off the credit card. Make sure you're putting a little money in the savings, because the last thing you want to do is pay the card off, half of it, and then all of a sudden an unexpected expense happens, and now you charge the card right back up. So there's things like that you can do. There's lots of great resources out there. Again, there's no cookie cutter one for all. It's whatever works best with your budget and your planning. So, take a look at all the different resources out there. There's a company that I recommend heavily that teaches a lot about this, and they're called Balance Pro. They're a local company. I know if you're a member of Redwood Credit Union, they pay for, and then you don't have to worry about getting charged any fees from them. You just tell them you're a credit union member, a Redwood Credit Union member, and then they pay for, and then we basically pay for all of your items you're going to do with them. However, their fees are very nominal because they're nonprofit, so they're really out there to help you kind of get better at doing all that, at become financially stable essentially. So I would recommend that. And then just kind of, we'll learn a little bit more about credit in the next slides, but really just focusing on making your payments on time and making at least double the minimum payment, and then paying off the, whatever extra balances you have, extra money you have at the end, pay that towards the highest interest credit card. So if you've got 3 cards and one's charging 20%, the other 2 are charging you 10%, pay off that 20% first. And then once you paid off that 20% one, take that monthly payment you're paying on that 20% one and apply it in addition to whatever you're paying on that's called the Cascade model, where you pay off little ones. Once you pay off one, then you take that and you apply that savings to paying off the next one. And it just kind of cascades and builds. And so by the time you pay off the last one, it's quick and easy because you've taken 3 cards and you're now paying 3 payments to 1 card. If that makes any sense. Did that answer your question?
Yes, Thank you. And we are getting a handful of questions about credit building, but that is the next part he's about to go over. So I'll save those, that they'll probably be covered. We are getting a handful of questions on if you have recommendations on any budgeting apps.
Again, I have 3 friends that use 3 different apps and they all swear by them as the best app ever. I actually have tried all 3 of them. I don't like them myself because I don't like them. I actually use a method that is not as common. I just basically use my own online banking and mobile app to keep myself honest every week. And I have I set aside savings accounts. So my institution allows me, RCU allows me to have a bunch of savings accounts without any minimum balances. And so I can label them. So I have like a vacation fund. I have a monthly bills fund. I have and so I split things up. And so when I get my paycheck, I kind of put things in the different savings accounts. And that way, when I need them, I use them. And when the savings account is empty, then I know I can't, like if I have an entertainment one, when my savings account's empty for entertainment, looks like I'm done for entertainment for the month. So I kind of do that, and that keeps me on track. But honestly, whatever apps you explore and look around and find out which ones are best for you.
Thank you. We have another question. What is the best use of tax returns, to pay off debt or to invest?
Ooh, that's a really good question. It depends on the person. So for me, my mom hates me because I have, she's an accountant and I get a tax refund every year, and she hates me because of it, because she says I'm giving the government an interest-free loan and I might as well pay less each month. But I tell her, like, no, this allows me to get a little bit of money at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year. And I actually use that as my vacation fund. So I actually use that to go on vacations for the year. And so whenever I get my tax refund, it goes right into the vacation fund. And I know I have a little bit of money saved up for that. Other people invest it in different various things. It really depends. Obviously investing gets you the most money out of it, but I already contribute enough monthly to my 401k. I already do investing on the side with my monthly money. But definitely you want to pay off as much of your debt as possible. You definitely want to have that 6-month savings for emergencies. So if you don't have that, then use the tax refund to replenish that. If you have paid off all of your debt, then you can use for other things. I would certainly recommend paying off as much of your debt. You guys are about to start getting, going to college, things like that. A lot of you are going to get student loans. Make sure that, when you're paying off those student loans, that looking at the interest rates and making sure that you're not, if you're sacrificing investing the money because you're paying off a student loan, but that student loan interest rate is only like 2% or 3%, and you're getting 5% back on your investment, as far as interest goes, well, then don't pay off that student loan, put it towards that investment. So, again, it's something that you're going to learn more of later on, but, making sure that you're setting yourself up with all of the different various things is going to be the best. Probably have time for one more question before we start the credit, if there is any more.
Okay, yeah, we have a handful. Some are asking about how much do you think they need to make to be able to move out on their own in Sonoma County?
Sonoma County is difficult. And again, it really is going to depend if you have roommates. Like, for example, when I first moved out on my own, I didn't live by myself. I had 4 roommates, and we paid, I think it was like $1,600 a month for our 3-bedroom, but that was 20 years ago. So prices have gone up. Right now I pay a lot more myself. So it really just depends on if you're going to have roommates or not. It also depends on, what type of car. I have a fun motorcycle that I play with, and that's my fun vehicle. My car is how old is it now? Wow. It's 15 years old now, and it's got 140,000 miles on it. And it's a little Corolla. And so if you want to have like a really nice Mercedes and you have a $600 car payment, well, that's going to be, or $700 car payment. That's going to be a lot tougher. You're going to need to make a lot more to move out on your own than if you don't have a car payment, or if you have a $100 car payment or $200 car payment. Do you like cooking for yourself, and do you garden and grow your own food, and therefore, you need a place with a nice big backyard? Well, then you might have to pay a little bit more to do that. So all sorts of things cause you to have more or less. But yeah, so it just really depends on your expenses. And again, create your budget, add that in. Look at the average cost for like renting a room from a place, or look at the average cost for a home, to rent a home, and then divide that by how many roommates you're going to have, and then go, okay, well, that means I need to make $3,000 a month to cover my expenses and this new rent. Well, that lets you know I need to make $3,000 net. So you can use that to gauge, okay, well, how much am I going to need to make? So when you're looking for jobs, when you're looking for things, okay, now you have your goal set. And if this job only pays you $10 an hour and that's not enough to afford, well, then maybe you look for a different job, or maybe you work there for a bit, and then you have a raise built in, or you have a promotion built in that okay, once I hit this thing, then I'm out. So build in things like that to your budget, and set goals. Again, set those goals that aren't too lofty. So with that, thank you so much. Any other questions you guys have, keep on sending them to Elizabeth. And Elizabeth, you can send them to me. I will be more than happy to answer any questions they have, either whether it's via another Zoom call or an email or whatever. I'm more than happy to. It's what I love doing. But with that said, let's get out of here, and there's my motorcycle, and let's give ourselves some credit. So I'm sure you guys all have a bunch of questions. I see a lot of chats in there. So give yourself some credit. We're going to be talking about what is a credit. What is, what does actual credit mean? The definition, the mystery of credit reports. Credit reports are a very, very mysterious thing that has tons of different things in them that you never know. No one ever really knows the algorithm they use to build them, but they're there. And how you get that score, again, there's lots of weird things in them. So we're going to discuss what goes into that. Now, credit, a lot of people think it's this weird, nasty thing and everything. But really, it's just the ability, the definition is the ability of a customer to obtain goods or services before payment based on the trust that payment will be made in the future. Well, that's a nice little fun way of saying you're getting something before you pay for it. That's really what it is. So it's either a good, which is a car, that dinner you wanted to go out, you went to San Francisco and you wanted to spend, $100 on that dinner, and you don't have the $100 in your savings yet, but in 2 weeks you're going to get paid and that's going to be fine. Well, you can pay for it on a credit card. Good can also be a car, a home, anything like that. So anything that you don't have enough money to purchase it, or it can be a service, your cell phone bill. You pay that after you've already used it. PG&E, they let you use electricity and then you pay them back for how much electricity you used. Those types of things are things that you're basically paying. You're getting them before you've paid them. Now, the main types of credit, I went over a few of them earlier, but there's service. That's your cell phone bill. That's your PG&E bill. That's your cable bill. Those are things that you're getting services before you've actually paid for them. So you're paying for it after you got the service. Insurance is another one. Revolving, that is a credit card. So what a revolving credit card is they go, okay, here's a limit of, let's say, $5,000 or $200 or $2,000 or whatever it is. And you can use up to that amount before you have to pay it back. Now you pay it back monthly, and you don't have to, some credit cards, you have to pay them all back. Other credit cards allow you to keep balances. When you keep a balance from 1 month to the next, though, that's what charges you interest. So for example, you spend $1,000 on the credit card, you pay back $500. That next month, your balance is $500 to start with, and you owe interest on that $500 that you didn't pay off. Now, the $500 you did pay off, great, you don't pay interest on that. But that $500 you left on there, that's charging interest. The next month, you have $500, let's say, plus $25 of interest. And your interest is based on the rate that you got on the card, and each card will tell you the rate. So again, it's important to know what the rates are and how much they are. But basically, that's a revolving credit card. Sometimes they're also called lines of credit, and there's various lines of credit you can get in the future. But for most of you, it's going to be a credit card that you're going to start off with those revolving. And again, they give you a limit. It's best to spend as minimal on that limit as possible, and pay it off in full every month if you can. The last one is an installment loan. It's basically saying an installment loan is basically your auto loans, your home loans. I want to buy something and I don't have enough money. Let's say I have $2,000 and I want to buy a $10,000 car. Well, I'm going to borrow $8,000. It's over a specific term, which is how many months or years it's going to take you to pay it back. So I'm going to pay you back over 4 years. It's 48 months. So 48 payments. I'm going to pay you back this much per month with this much interest. And after 48 months, I paid you back the $8,000 with a little bit of interest. And now I own the car outright. So that's kind of an example of what those three are. Really, the important thing is that you're keeping track of your bills, you're paying them on time, and you're kind of really keeping honest with that. Now, credit, a lot of people, like I said, they think it's gross, they think it's nasty. They've got lots of bad stories. However, if you manage it well, you won't have those bad stories, and it's going to give you the things you want now at an additional but reasonable cost. So, like I said, that interest on that car, let's say, you want to buy a new car. Well, if you want to buy that new car, if you don't have $30,000, $40,000, you can't buy that new car. But if you get a loan that's at 2-3% interest, that's a reasonable cost, and it allows you to get that new car that maybe doesn't have to spend as much on. You can if you've saved $5,000, you can buy a car, but it's not going to be as nice. You're going to have to spend more money on maintenance and things like that. So maybe it allows you to get that car that doesn't spend as much money on maintenance, and maybe your monthly payment is the same as you pay on monthly maintenance on that other car, and now you're driving a nicer car that you wanted versus the one that you could only get because that was the only one that you could get in cash. So it also allows you to do other things as well, not just the cars, but other things as well, and pay them back over time. And then also, but if you spend too much, if you don't pay it back as required, that's where you get those nasty stories that people talk about. So manage it well. You're going to be happy. If you have problems, it can hurt you, and it can hurt your chances, not just of borrowing money, but there's a lot of things. Other employers that you're going to try and get a job with, they're going to check your credit most likely, and that could prevent you from getting the job. Landlords, when you go to rent, they're going to check your credit. They're going to ask you for the credit. And if you have bad credit, that means you're bad at paying bills. So you're probably going to be bad at paying them back. And then insurance providers. So when you want to get that auto insurance for your car, you might have to go with the insurance that's more expensive and that's not as good, because the good company is like, no, I don't trust this person. So there's all sorts of things that it is, that kind of how it's defined and everything. But really, it's just, pay your bills on time and you'll be okay. Now, credit reports, they're a little bit strange. There's three major credit bureaus. Now there's like 9 or 12 or something, alternate credit bureaus, but these are three major ones that financial institutions and places like that will say, okay, this is going to cause you to be able to rent or not rent, but borrow money from us and whatnot. And there's Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Now, what happens is financial institutions that you're getting loans from, things that report how you pay back things to them. So think of it this way. You have a buddy. That buddy says, hey, I want to borrow $100 from you. Well, if you have only, if you've never let this person borrow from you and you don't know them very well, maybe you might not want to let them borrow money. Maybe you might want to go to other friends and say, hey, how is this person at paying you back? And if all three of the people that you ask are like, oh my gosh, that person's great, they pay you back plus interest, easy every time, no problems. Okay, here's your $100, great, pay my interest back later on, we're good. But if you go to those three people and they say, oh man, that person was hard, we had to hunt them down all the time, we had to ask them, we had to bug them a bunch, we had to, and then one of them says, yeah, you didn't even pay me back. Well, then you're going to be like, no, sorry, buddy. I talked to these 3 people. They said you're bad at paying them back. I'm sorry, I can't let you borrow. Or maybe I'll let you borrow only $20 and see how you do with that. So again, it's credit bureaus are ways of us as financial institutions getting information on how you are at paying bills back. And so we can make that decision and we can say, hey, you didn't pay back Citibank and you had a hard time paying back your credit card with Discover. So you know what? I'm sorry, we can't give you a loan. Or maybe we're going to give you a loan, but we're going to give you a higher interest rate, or we're going to do things like that. So, or conversely, you're great at paying back everyone. Here's your loan. Great, awesome. So one of the things that you can do before you're looking to get loans, and while you're kind of learning more about credit and building it. Now, before you have any credit cards or anything like that, not really great to obtain your credit report because it's going to be nothing. But once you start using credit cards, things like that, and once you start having a credit report, it's good to check your credit. And that's one of the ways you can kind of keep honest. Sometimes fraudulent things happen on your credit. You need to make sure you're keeping aware of it. Other times, it's just good to know where you stand. But you can go to the credit bureaus themselves. So the Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, you can reach out to them and say, hey, I want my credit score. They're going to charge you, and they're going to for the credit score and history. You can also go through annualcreditreport.com. They're an annual service that allows you to get it once a year for free. Now, they only give you the report, not the score. And really, you should be worried about the report and their history, because if you're doing things right, your score is going to be great. If you're doing things wrong, your score is going to be bad. So whether or not you know what your score is, that's not really the big thing. It's really whether or not you're doing things right or wrong. There's also some centralized services that you can use. There's different companies that you can go to as well that will charge you a fee for it. And then there's other resources like your financial institutions. A lot of times will if you have a loan or a credit card with them, they'll let you take a look at your score. There's like things like Credit Karma, stuff like that. A lot of times they're outdated though, they're getting the wrong score. So again, don't focus on your score, focus on your history, focus on what you're doing to make sure that your score is going well. The role of credit scores.
Yeah. Just we have about like 2-3 minutes left. Just so.
Okay. I'll kind of skip through these. The score again. Don't really worry too much about the score. Worry more and more about the history. It's one element of the credit decision making, but it's not the end all be all. It does determine your interest rate, and so you can see like the different scores are determining different rates here. And so the same person borrowing $5,000 on a minimum payment is going to pay a lot more to pay it back than the person who has the 12.99 versus 21.99, and the amount of years it's going to take to pay it back. On a mortgage, it's even worse, and the monthly payments are much higher. So there's all sorts of things that. Big important thing right here. This is where you're going to know about what the payment history and the amount owed. These are the different things that set your score. So we'll end on how to improve your score. Pay on time every time. So this is really good. You want to make sure you're not any late payments. Avoid any collection accounts. So collections are where you don't pay something back and then they hire another company to get the money from you. So that's bad. Keeping your old accounts. One of the things that affects your score is how long you've had accounts. So don't just close out things and open new ones all the time. Avoid maxing out credit cards. So that's where you borrow more than that's where you're allowed 5,000. Well, you borrow the full 5,000 and you keep it at 5,000. That's not a good thing. So you want to keep it under 20% of the available balance. Do not apply all over the place. Every time you apply, it affects your credit negatively. So keep it to 1 to 2 applications a year. And really you shouldn't have more than like 2, maybe 3 credit cards. And then use baby steps. So when you're building your credit, do small things here and step by step to make sure that you're building your credit. So get that $500 credit card, use that well for a while, and then keep it stepping up. Get the smaller loans, get the personal loan, things to step up to use those baby steps to get your credit built. And for the questions, it looks like we're out of time, but again, any questions you have, I would love to answer them offline. So And if we have enough time to go over maybe one question, maybe, I don't know.
Okay, yeah, we had one question come in. Does medical debt affect credit?
It does, but only in your score. Like your credit score is going to be affected. It's going to show up on your credit history. Most financial institutions, though, understand that medical debt is separate and it doesn't always affect your ability to get a loan. It can, and especially since it affects your score and it affects your rate. So you do want to pay it off, but it's not going to automatically deter you from getting a loan.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, thank you so much, Matt, for this presentation. And also thank you to Brandon of Sonoma County CTE, who kind of did the behind the scenes for us today. We do just want to remind everyone, we will be posting recordings of all our sessions. So I did have some questions that some people logged on late. So you'll be able to look at the recording and watch it from the beginning. And I will put that link in the chat so that you all have it. And then just as a reminder, our next session will be at 10:15, and that will be Wine Hospitality and Tourism Careers, Sonoma Specialties, the heart of Sonoma County. So that'll start at 10:15. So again, thank you to all the students, teachers, counselors, everyone that tuned in to our session.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure. Again, any questions you guys have, please reach out. I'm more than happy. Credit is something I could go on for another hour if you guys let me, because that's something I did. That's something I've been doing for a long time. So yeah, any questions the students have, by all means, pass them on, and I'll get them all answered for you guys.
All right, thank you, Matt, and thank you, everyone.